welcome back or welcome for the first time if you've never seen my videos before. My name is Bryn. I am transgender and non-binary, and I make videos about those topics. I'm really excited to film this video. This is my 5 years on HRT. Ooh. So as I said, I started HRT 5 years ago. A little bit of background information about me. I was assigned male at birth, and I was raised as a boy, and I came out as a trans woman when I was 18 and non-binary when I was 21. And when I started HRT, I was out as a trans woman. So I just say that because sometimes there's people who realize they're non-binary and then start transitioning, but I didn't figure that out until I was partway through my transition. So anyways, I just want to go over some of the changes in the beginning and where I'm at now and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to be talking about physical changes, mental changes, emotional changes, sexuality changes, things like that. So if you're interested, keep sticking around. So the first thing that I noticed when I began HRT was my chest growing and becoming sore and all that. And I'm not going to get too much into detail about that. I have a whole nother video on it, which I'll have up here and in the description box down below. But yeah, the chest growth was definitely the first thing, and emotionally, I was like, just like dramatic. I remember like crying over a pretty butterfly and stuff like that. Like, basically everything that existed made me feel something. And I'm also just an emotional person to begin with. I would say that like before HRT, if I had any negative emotions, I would just feel angry. But now I do also obviously experience anger, but overall, like I would say that I'm just more connected to my emotions and like understand them better. And I'm sure some of that just came with time as well, because again, it's been 5 years. But I think even like within the first few months, like I just felt much more connected to my emotion. I'm like sensitive and like all that stuff. I'll like cry over anything, but like literally anything. But that was the thing, like before HRT, I didn't cry over everything. It was hard for me to connect with my emotions, and now they just kind of flow freely, which I really enjoy. The next one, this is a pretty big deal for me, I guess, because it totally like changed the way that I viewed everything. When I began HRT, I realized that I started being attracted to women. And if you've seen my other videos, you know that I was out as a gay guy before I transitioned. I came out when I was like 14, never really felt like sexually attracted to women. Sometimes I would have some emotional attraction, but I didn't really understand what that was because it felt ugh. So it was never something that like I wanted to pursue because it made me feel icky. And now I know that's because it like triggered dysphoric feelings, because being a guy, you know, dating a woman, I felt like I had these really masculine roles to fit into and stuff like that. And it was just so uncomfortable. I'm not masculine at all. And so like it just didn't fit in my head, because I felt like I was being placed in a box that like I literally just don't fit in. So when I started HRT, that was when I began seeing myself change and being able to view myself as less masculine. I mean, I know like right now I look pretty feminine, but overall I consider myself to be more on the androgynous part of the spectrum rather than the feminine part of the spectrum. But when it comes to anything like intimacy or romance or anything like that, I definitely do have a very like feminine energy, and like I feel more aligned with that in those situations. But like overall, I don't really consider myself to be very feminine, which I know it seems like a contradiction right now, but that's also just because I felt like looking pretty for this video. The next thing, this is kind of a mix of two different things, but I'm going to be talking about gaining weight and raising my dose. So I haven't really talked about this recently, but I have cystic fibrosis, which is a disease that causes my entire body to be effed up. Basically, it mostly affects my lungs and my digestive system, but with having CF, one of the side effects is that it can be really difficult to gain weight, and it's very easy to lose weight. And that sounds like a good thing, but it's not. I was slowly going down in weight. My lowest point, I was like 30 pounds underweight, which if any of you have been underweight, I mean, there's no energy, there's no nothing. But on top of that, with having absolutely no fat on my body, one of the effects of estrogen or even testosterone is it shifts where the fat on your body is distributed. But again, because I didn't have any fat on my body, there was no way for that to change. So I didn't really notice much physical changes up until I gained weight. There was a medication that came out for cystic fibrosis about a year and a half ago, I think, or at least that's when I started it. And it's like completely turned my life around in the best way. So I'm really happy about it. But yeah, I was very underweight. And so I didn't really see a lot of physical changes until I started gaining weight. And on top of that, soon before I started gaining, like maybe not right before I started gaining weight, but within like, I think like less than a year. I don't really remember. But at some point I got a new endocrinologist. My original endocrinologist was really hesitant about putting me, about raising my spironolactone dose, which if you don't know what that is, it's the medicine that counteracts testosterone. And I'm not really sure what her reasoning was. Like, she said that she was worried about my CF, but I don't really understand how they would interact poorly. But regardless, I got a new endocrinologist and he was asking me, do I like the dose that I'm on? Are there things that I don't like that are happening? And one of the things that was still happening, which this is like, in my opinion, like this feels like really, I don't like talking about it, but I would wake up in the morning and my downstairs would be ready to go. And I do not like that feeling. I don't like how it was not something that I could control, and I don't like when that happens. So he said, well, why don't we raise your spironolactone dose and we'll see how that does. And he did that and it worked great and I don't have that problem anymore. Plus, I think it also, it helped with like other things, like my hairline. Like I still wish it was a little fuller, but like, and I'm gonna pull these little pieces up, but like this is my hairline, but before it went back the whole way and there was like no hair here. So the HRT definitely helped that as well. And that's what I noticed from the larger dose. And then, like I said, I was underweight, but then I ended up gaining weight. And it was really interesting to see because when I started HRT, I was underweight, not the 30 pounds underweight, but I was underweight. And so I didn't really see those body changes or whatever. And so the last time that I was a healthy weight was before HRT. So it wasn't up until like a year ago or a year and a half, you know, somewhere in between there, that I really saw the difference between what I looked like when I was like in high school versus what I look like now. And I'll actually leave some of those videos in here for you if you're curious. I don't really have a whole lot of them because I was feeling really dysphoric over them a few years ago and like went back and deleted basically all of them, but I was able to find some, so I will insert those here in case you're curious what I looked like then. Here I was 12, I believe. This is when I was 14. This is when I was 17. I was a senior in high school. I was also a senior here in high school. And here I was also a senior in high school. And this was after high school. I went to camp and everyone said I looked like Harry Styles and wanted to take pictures with me. So I was just editing my video and I realized I never actually pointed out where all the fat on my body went when I started gaining weight. So on my face, my cheeks are fuller, my whole face is just a lot softer, and the little crease that was underneath my eyes is basically gone, which I think makes a big difference. I also have hips, which is like fun or whatever. My chest did get bigger, which like, I don't know, that's okay, I guess. And also I have a little tushy now. Before I was like completely flat. But now I have like, I don't know, it's like cute. Like it's not like thick with 2 C's, but it's like cute. One of the next things that I wanted to talk about is the hair on my body. It's something that like I don't really think about. I almost forgot to put it in this video actually, but I think it's really interesting. So I wasn't like a super hairy person before transitioning. Like honestly, like I don't like I could never go back to the way that I looked before or I would feel so horrible. But overall, like I wasn't a super masculine guy. Like people didn't look at me and think like, oh, that's like a manly man, you know, whatever. Like I never really radiated that kind of energy, but my leg hair was pretty thick. And I also had hair, a little bit of hair on my chest. And I just noticed the other day I was taking a shower and like I looked down at my chest and I like realized there was no hair there, and then I remembered that I had used to shave my chest, and like it was like a few dark hair, maybe like 10, like, you know, not massive, but they were very dark and they were very coarse, and I used to shave them, and I realized I haven't shaved my chest in like years, like probably like 2 years or something. So HRT has definitely helped that. And also my leg hair is very thin, and it's also more like lighter. Part of that might just be because it's the summer, I don't know, but like it's not super noticeable, but I like having it. I used to shave my legs like all the time, and eventually like I felt that that was too feminine. So I like having hair on my legs, but I like that it's thin and it's not super coarse. So like you don't look at me and be like, oh, your legs are hairy. You know what I mean? But they're also not like super smooth. So I feel really comfortable with the way that my leg hair is. And then one more thing that I wanted to talk about, and I'm gonna be a little bit discreet because I'm gonna be a little bit discreet, but my downstairs, before surgery, it was like droopy and like floppy, you know? But after HRT, it's a lot more kind of like scrunched up, unless I'm like actually using it for something. But like just walking around, it's like compacted, like it's like, you know those like bags that are like people take them when they go on vacation and they put all their clothes in it, and then you like suck all the air out and it like squishes it. That's like kind of how I view it. I know it's like kind of weird to explain it that way, but like it's definitely changed, and like for me that's really good because that's something that I'm really like insecure about, and like, or not even insecure about, but like it just makes me like so dysphoric. It felt, to me, it felt manly when it was very droopy, and like I still don't want to have it. That's why I want to get surgery, but it feels like if I wanted to have a wiener, like if I was comfortable having a wiener, this would be the wiener that I wanted, basically. I don't know. But yeah, so that's definitely helped my dysphoria a lot. I don't even tuck anymore for the most part, unless I'm like, if I go swimming or like whatever, or like sometimes like if I want to wear leggings, or every once in a while I get super dysphoric and I'm just like, I should tuck or whatever. But most of the time I just don't, because it's much better than it was, and like tucking is such a fucking pain, you know what I mean? So those are most of the changes that I've had on HRT, but I do have a few more things to talk about, just like kind of updating about different things. The first thing, I talked about a little bit earlier about when I was becoming attracted to women, but I just wanted to kind of give a brief overview of how I feel about my sexuality right now, because I think I've been learning more stuff and whatever, you know, there's always more to learn about everything. So I've made a few videos about my sexuality and stuff like that, and typically they all revolve around how I feel about women, because that's the stuff that was changing for me. But I also wanted to talk about like my feelings towards men and stuff like that, because in a lot of those videos that I was talking about my attraction to women, I was talking about it as if it was almost like replacing my attraction to men, and I think at the time it was, but I've been kind of just thinking about it more and whatever, and I think what my problem is, I guess, with men is that many times I feel like there's a power imbalance, and I think that's just reflective of the way that society is. And you know, like obviously like men are treated very different than women in society, and again, I'm not a woman, but in romantic and intimate settings I am definitely much closer to that identity than I am in like everyday life. So I've been thinking about like my past relationships and stuff, because I mostly dated men. Like my most recent relationship was with a woman, but other than that, I basically always dated men, and they're typically straight men. So I was kind of going through and analyzing this, and I don't think that I can like deny how I felt about like specific men in my past. Like I think those feelings were very valid and real and stuff like that. And that's not the only reason why I'm coming to the conclusion that I also like men. I was also thinking, for the most part, the people that I've been attracted to and dated have been straight men. And with that, you know, as I said, like, I do tend to be more feminine and stuff when it comes to romance and intimacy, but I think sometimes I end up feeling like a little bit trapped in that role, and I don't have as much like freedom to be fluid. I don't feel this way anymore, but I remember like my last relationship that was with a guy. He's now like one of my best friends, but when we were dating, like, I knew he was a straight guy, all that stuff, and I was really scared or worried or whatever to dress, you know, like a guy or whatever. Like, because there's times where I dress and like I feel like I do just look like, I don't know, an androgynous guy or something like that. And, you know, sometimes that feels really comfortable to me, but I was really afraid to do that because I was dating a straight man. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, so if you're a straight man, you either like women or you like femininity. And I'm neither of those now, you know. If I was being feminine, then that made sense for them to like me. But it was kind of like this thing where I just felt a little bit confined in a specific role and stuff like that. But I also know, like, you know, I've talked to him about it and he's like, I never cared. Like, it never bothered me, like, if you would have dressed like a guy or whatever. Like he was like, I just like you for you. And that's normally what people say, but I still just have these insecurities, and I think I've worked past them, and so I feel a lot more comfortable with dating men. And then on top of that, I think when I think of men as like a concept, I'm kind of turned off to the idea, but that's because of the way that society is, and you know, all the toxic masculinity and stuff like that. And there are definitely men that have been in my life that I've loved who are not toxically masculine. That's been okay, you know? And so since I've worked through my insecurities and I've figured that out, I am definitely open to dating men, and I definitely can have feelings for men. But my feelings have definitely changed because a lot of my feelings for men, you know, early on and stuff, were revolved around, you know, feeling wanted and like loved, and like instead of liking the person, I liked the way that they made me feel. I mean, obviously I like attention, who the fuck doesn't? But I don't like men because they give me attention. I like men for who they are. And I figured that out in my last relationship with a man. And then the last thing that I want to talk about is my bottom surgery and my laser hair removal. So I haven't had bottom surgery yet, but I am planning on getting it. To get bottom surgery, a lot of surgeons require you to get laser hair removal. The surgeon that I'm going to does not require it, but he does recommend it. So I decided to play it safe and get it done because basically, I guess when they do the surgery, they'll scrape off the follicles or something like that. But essentially, if they miss a follicle, then you can end up getting a hair growing inside you. And like, I feel like that's not something that I want. So, I mean, he said it's not super common that that happens. So what I decided to do was go with 6 rounds of laser hair removal down there because that's about average. It can get rid of most of the hair, and my surgery is going to be covered by my insurance, but my insurance runs out in about a year because I'm on my mother's insurance and I'll be 26 next year. So I didn't want to wait until the last minute, you know, just in case something got postponed. Or also, you know, I'm hoping I should be able to have surgery probably in like December, sometime in the winter. And then that way I still have like 6 or 7 months where I can go to checkups and stuff. Like I won't have to worry about like paying out of pocket for the first few checkups that I have, I guess. So yeah, so I just had my 4th round of laser hair removal done like a week ago, I think. And so I have 2 more, and we're doing them about every other month. So I should be finished up around October. And then my laser hair removal woman, I don't know what her title is, but she said that if we finish in October, then that way there's still a few months, just in case there are any follicles that still have hair growing from them, he can see the follicles so that he doesn't miss them during the surgery, which like totally makes sense. So I'm really excited. I did actually have laser hair removal on my face as well, like when I first came out, because up here, it wasn't like too bad, but like I would shave it and you could kind of see like the shadow or whatever it's called. So, and I have like little baby hairs down here, but I still grow hair up here. I didn't finish the laser hair removal because I just didn't feel like paying again, but like I tweeze, and the hairs that are up here are like pretty blonde and like thin, so you don't really notice them, whereas before it was a little thicker and coarser. So that's just, I guess that's everything about everything. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, feel free to subscribe. I hope you all have a really nice day. Thanks for listening. Bye.